Hey there, Laker fans. Welcome to another episode of Lakers Extra Detailed. I'm your host, Vinay. This is the Warriors Lakers post game. The Lakers had a pretty phenomenal game against the Warriors, a little more tightly contested in the first half than originally expected, but the Lakers ended up winning the game by double digits, 118 to 108, in a game that was sort of decided in the second half of the game. And we're as we're on the broadcast, I'm waiting. Hopefully, we get some of the plays to show up here. I get the plays to populate so we can kind of do a live breakdown of all the possessions and whatnot. So I'm just waiting to see if the NBA site loads it up. But essentially, I just wanted to talk about the big news that we had. Actually, before I even do that, shout out to everybody who subscribed to Lakers Detailed on YouTube. You guys are amazing. We broke 800 subscribers uh, just overnight. I think after I posted the Vucevic sort of breakdown tape, which seemed to sort of catch the attention of folks across the timeline. I think a lot of folks. I got a lot of not even just messages about like disagreeing with me or anything like that, but I definitely got a lot of messages from people both on the YouTube and just on here on X and whatnot. Just folks saying thanks for breaking down the different things that um, Vucevic can help with and things that he can't help with, and just kind of what his limitations are. And I just want to say thanks to all the folks that have subscribed and who send the messages. I wanted to thank Chenny, who sent a super chat 2 videos ago. I also wanted to thank Shell, who who also sent a super chat in on the Vucevic video. Like I genuinely appreciate that sort of stuff. Obviously, we don't try to charge for anything when it comes to or monetize anything when it comes to Lakers Detailed, but we're always happy if folks want to support me and Raj as we do the pod or we do this extra stuff. So I definitely want to take some time to just thank the folks that do that. It genuinely does mean a lot, and I know I'm in the Discord with some of you guys. I know I'm in the chat with some of you guys. I just want to say I'm never. It's never too much for me to extend my gratitude to the folks who support just anything related to Lakers Detailed or anything related to Raj's work or any of the stuff that I do when it comes to it. For us, it's all about helping the fan base see the game the way that we see it and try to get to that point. And that's really what the goal is of everything that we do with Lakers Detail. Just, want to share stuff with passionate fans. So I'm hoping that as we do, as I'm going through the post game, this video populates, because if it does, that I'd really, really love to show you guys a couple of plays where in a couple of, sets and sequences, stretches, where I think the Lakers could really benefit from adding a second big that might be super helpful, or a heavy big where that might be somewhat helpful. So this game was definitely a game of pace. It was very clearly the Warriors trying to speed up the game, try to create tons of motion on the floor in order to confuse the Lakers to generate open threes. And at times they were successful, and at times they weren't. But I think the best part of today's game was the Lakers never losing sight of how to hurt the Warriors defense. And the core way to hurt the Warriors defense is to continually attack the paint over and over and over again. And I thought the Lakers did an awesome job staying disciplined to that part. To be fair, and our guys were knocking down jumpers. The percentages don't look great. Like we went 10 for 29, but it felt like when the Lakers went on a run, they were knocking down threes at the right time. And I'm distinctly remembering I want to say back to back Max Christie threes. He hit one in the left corner, then he hit one in the right corner. So that was super awesome to see. But the other big news of today was really Rui Hachimura not being able to play. He was downgraded to questionable. And so he ended up not playing the game today, which means that Laker fans finally got a chance to see the lineup that they've wanted to see, which is the starting lineup with Dorian Finney-Smith in for Rui Hachimura. And I want to say that the dividends were positive. We finished Finney-Smith finishes today's game with, and I'll pull this up for you guys so you guys can see it too as well. Let me actually increase the size of this. Um, Dorian Finney-Smith finishes this game with 8 points, so not a ton of points. Knocks down his 2 threes that he takes. Finishes with a plus 20, and then obviously the debut, the return of Jared Vanderbilt. Very short minutes, since only 12 minutes. I think he's probably just ramping his way up. But Vando came off. Vando came off the bench for the Lakers in the bench units. So those were the two major changes that we saw today. But we got to look to see how Dorian kind of helps the Lakers out. How the Lakers, what the Lakers have to work around when it comes to him and that sort of thing. So obviously the defensive bump is significant. I think the Lakers' defensive discipline for that starting group was significantly better because Dorian Finney-Smith, his defensive IQ is significantly high, and he does a really fantastic job covering for his teammates, getting back, just doing really basic things that you need out of a defensive player. And when he's knocking down shots, that's an even bigger bump for the Lakers too as well. So that was fantastic. I think he hit the opening three to the game off a corner swing pass. So it might have been Austin or LeBron that did it for him. But you can see how it changes the Lakers' offense also too to some degree. Dorian is not a guy who's going to do a lot of back cutting. He's not a guy who's going to post up like Rui does. But what you get out of him defensively and what you don't get out of him offensively, it's the defense that you get, the extra stuff you get out of him defensively, it mitigates. It's actually more valuable for the lineup that he's part of with that starting group. So what Dorian brings to us defensively, as it fits in with that starting group, is just better. It just fits better with what we get versus when we have Rui in that situation. And I think that's just something that is, I think that's something that JJ's really, really going to have to think about. Obviously there's no speculation. I'm sure Laker fans will speculate that Rui will lose his starting job. Technically, an injury isn't a reason for him to lose his starting job. But if you're going to make that decision, if you have to convince Rui, hey, Rui, maybe you should come off the bench, this would sort of be the reason why you have to convince Rui to come off the bench, because the fit is a little bit better. Now you have three very clear-cut scorers in Austin, LeBron, and AD, and now you're not trying to fit Rui into something that he doesn't have to fit into or he has difficulty fitting into. So I think the fit and the there's a part of this where you can make the argument that the Lakers always know where Dorian's going to be offensively. Like, he's always going to be in that corner. And because he's always going to be in that corner, it makes things like easier. It almost makes like the offense a little bit more easier to navigate for his teammates. So I could see how that fit would be much better. The Warriors are a little unique in the way they play because they play so fast and because they play with a lot of motion, that I wonder if we had played like a more traditional team, a team that doesn't have a guy like Steph or plays the kind of motion offense that they do, and we would have saw a greater impact with Dorian too as well. So like Rui's had good games against the Warriors too as well. He had a phenomenal game against them when AD went down. So it's just one of those things where we need to figure out. I think JJ is going to have to take, if he wants Rui to come off the bench, he has to convince him that there's something, assuming Rui's on the team, of course, and he's not out for too long of an extended time or gets moved. But there is a part of this where I think he has to convince Rui that it's of greater benefit to Rui and the team, which I think Rui is a team guy, that will be that, it'll help the team out more if he comes off the bench. And the Lakers can certainly use that help off the bench too. So that's going to be very interesting for us to see. For me to see how JJ convinces Rui to do it. So let me see. Let's see here if the play's loaded up here yet or not. Oh, still not. So yeah, we won't be able to pull up the plays just yet. So you get a nice start from the Lakers. Anthony Davis looks outright dominant, and you get a situation where LeBron's wheeling and dealing. Austin looked fantastic today. It seems like he's very, very comfortable. This game, he seemed like he was like super comfortable just attacking, getting downhill against a lot of Warrior defenders. Didn't matter if it was Andrew Wiggins or Pods or Dennis Schroeder. It quite literally didn't matter. And then it actually started bleeding over to everybody else. Like I think um, Max looked like he got really comfortable. He was taking Euro steps for finishes. Obviously, he had the 2 corner threes that he hit. He finished the game 3 for 4. He had a play where they advanced in the ball. I want to say at half court, and Max just kind of took it all the way to the rim and just kind of bullied his way to the rim for a layup. I forgot who it might have been against Steph or might have been against somebody else. I can't quite remember. Um, but I thought that was fantastic. This game, another game where this is the give and go with Dalton Connect. Like you'll get some bad defense from him. He'll get lost on defense. He'll get blown by on defense too as well. But then you also get the other side of Dalton Connect, which is a guy who will knock down threes, make shots, finish with dunks, and just plays like that. And I thought he did a fantastic job, just kind of staying in the game. It's good to see that he doesn't let the lack of defense or issues with defense affect him offensively, because that's something that can certainly happen. And I think that's something that can be an issue. But I thought um, the one thing which is I was hoping I'd be able to pull, but until the plays actually show up, I don't know if we'll be able to see it. But the one thing that I actually want to sort of cover was the bench unit. So the Lakers ran a bench unit today at one point of, I think it was Gabe, LeBron, Jackson Hayes, Jared Vanderbilt, and I'm trying to remember who. Oh, it was Dalton Connect, right? So you got Gabe, Dalton, Vando, Braun, and Jackson Hayes, which is a decent sized group. Like it's a decently sized group. But those lineups very specifically are not really. There's no motion offense or anything being run in those specific lineups. Like those lineups, that lineup is basically supposed to be there to support Braun, right? So you got Vando and Jackson Hayes on the floor together, so they're kind of defensive. And if I've got the lineup incorrect, I apologize. I'm just trying to remember photographically because I can't pull the tape to remind myself. But when they run those lineups, you basically have 3 defensive guys. You have Gabe, you have Jackson Hayes, and you have Vando, and then you have Dalton to be like that shooter guy to help really pressure, run the 2-man game with LeBron, that sort of thing. And that lineup is a lineup where I thought they got stuck a little bit scoring wise for a little bit of a stretch before I think they went on a little bit of a run. And it was like a single digit game, and then they extended it back out to a double digit game, which forced the Warriors to call a timeout. I want to say that was in the third quarter, but it might have been in the first half. So I apologize if I don't remember it exactly. But when we think about adding guys like Vucevic, or you think about adding whoever, like a big man, that's probably the lineup where you really see the biggest impact that you can probably see with a guy like Nick Vucevic being added to the team, because you can almost see a version of that where if you add Vooch to those lineups, like maybe in Jackson Hayes' spot, now you have a little bit more floor balance with the scoring, right? So like now Gabe can truly be a defensive guy. Vando can truly be a defensive guy. And now between LeBron and Vooch, or if it's another offensive guy, it's like you get enough scoring on the floor where you don't have to rely on LeBron to have to do too much. So like one of the things that was happening in this game a couple of times is when LeBron would go to the rim, like the center that the Warriors had on the floor, I think it was like Quentin Post. Excuse me. Kevon Looney, guys like that, when they were on the floor, like they're gonna go help. Like they're gonna go attack with Braun. And Braun did a really, really nice job where he sort of held the ball a beat, or he hung in the air. He used the backboard, and he almost took like a two-handed shot at the rim if it wasn't like a straight layup. And that was one of the things that I thought. That's one of those moments, those lineups where I thought when I was watching it, I was just like, hey, they might benefit from having a guy who's not just a rim runner to sort of attack a team in the paint, in the rim. And granted, like I said, the Warriors are a little bit different because they play smaller than most other teams typically do, both with their starting group and with the group that comes off the bench. So I think like with a traditional size team, a team that has like a normal backup center or something like that, I think like you would see a situation where a guy like Vooch might be helpful just to space the floor. And I do trust JJ to be situationally good enough to find guys to place into those, just like play guys situationally in that regards. And I think in the regular season he certainly helps out, and then obviously in the playoffs, everybody except your 2 star players and probably Austin Reeves, they're all situational anyway, so I never quite worry about that. Um, but let's get to the real question, or not the real, but let's get to this like little bit of a deeper analysis that's going to lead to what I would want to say like a good problem. Um, at some point, uh, Rui is going to be healthy, and Vanderbilt's probably going to continue ramping up his minutes. Right now, he only had 12 minutes, and Lakers won in double digits, and he was very positive in the minutes that he has. Eventually, Vando's probably going to get to like 20 minutes at some point, and that's going to come at the expense of something of somebody. Like Vando played a little bit of small ball center, I want to say today too as well. Um, so the roster at some point is going to start consolidating down to something. And I think the same way that we had an issue with D'Lo and too many other guys that kind of need to have the ball in their hands to provide value for the Lakers, I think you're going to run into a situation with the wings that where this is going to be the case too as well. Like you're going to have a situation where you're going to have Dorian and you're going to have Vando, and maybe you'll have Jackson Hayes or you'll have AD or you'll have Max just kind of playing those wing positions when like Braun is playing point guard. And when that happens, like I don't know how you're going to be able to squeeze Rui into those situations. And I think that is something that the Lakers are certainly going to be looking at moving forward to see what happens. Watching Vanda today, he was moving pretty good. Like I thought he moved, his body looked pretty good. I'm sure his conditioning isn't quite there to where it needs to be, but as his conditioning gets back to where it is, I think he's going to be. He had some nice contested rebounds today. He I want to say he played pretty well for a year off. So like one of the things that I'm very curious to see is ultimately what ends up being the situation with his minutes, and depending on which direction his minutes go in, will decide quite a lot for the Lakers. I think you're going to see situations where, um, I don't know, like you're going to see situations where they deploy DFS and Vando as their main defensive guys, and it's like it's not that when we think about deploying them, we're not thinking about them from a like we're not thinking about them from like a two-way perspective. So Alan, there's a comment here that I want to highlight. Like Alan, so Alan, what you're saying here, like overrating 2 single-digit wings. Like I agree that like you're not getting really two-way wings. They're a little bit more one-way related. Um, but at the same time, they're really, really good defensively, and they allow you a level of defensive versatility where when teams only put 2 guys on the floor, like when Houston plays Jalen Green and Amen Thompson, you could put 2 defensive guys on him, Dorian Finney-Smith and Vando, and they could switch off on them or whatever it's supposed to be. But they kind of effectively help minimize a lot of the impact that you get offensively out of some of those guys. And obviously it's size specific, position specific, and depending on who you play against, that's the stuff that matters. But like I think the Lakers are going to run into a situation where they have to sort of figure out what it is, and if you can get some more offensive versatility for Rui, and if the Lakers are continuing to look in that direction, then it'll be very interesting to see what happens. But there is an aspect to this that involves X's and O's. At some point, teams are going to leave Vando wide open when he's on the floor. How do the Lakers counter that? Like if you're going to play bench units with Vando, you got to have a little bit more scoring, or you got to have a guy who can do ISO scoring in case they decide to help off of it. But I think it is a good problem to have. I think having defensive specialists who can also rebound, which both DFS and Vando can do, and then obviously in DFS's case, like it's a guy who can knock down open threes, catch and shoot threes. In Vando's case, you do kind of get a guy who can facilitate. You get a guy who can be a short roll passer, and who's an active screener. So you get like really 2 different looks from those 2 guys. That's very interesting to see. So I'm going to be very curious to see how JJ does it. We're getting close, and then obviously this also means that like Vando has to continue playing well and continue to show strides. Austin played 40 minutes today. Max played 31 minutes today. Dalton got 23 minutes. I know if you guys follow Lakers detailed, me and Raj always does the temperature check on the three guys. I've been saying all three of those guys have to be playing at least 30 minutes a game. Obviously, Austin plays significantly more, especially with the Stars. Uh, but again, Max Christie continuing to see 30 minutes a game. It's nice to see Dalton's minutes start to bump up again because he's providing some offensive ability and not just getting killed on defense the entire time. So it's going to be really interesting to see how the Lakers manage to kind of um, work their way around all of these sort of issues, like or not issues, but it's like how they figure out this rotation because I think it is going to change. When you play a team like Minnesota, you just have to go big. You can't really go small against a team like that because they have a lot of big guys. When you play against a team like the Warriors, the smaller guys matter more. You got to play like Gabe a little bit more than you probably normally would. You have to play a guy like Dalton because it might turn into a 3-point shootout because the Warriors will overcommit to drives. So it'll be very interesting to see how the Lakers make this all sort of work. I don't think JJ is going to have a very easy situation to figure all this these sort of things out. But I think it is really good that we're seeing Vando come back and just kind of get back to being the kind of guy that we expect him to be. So the next game will also be telling when we see what he looks like. But obviously, honestly, this entire game, I thought it was fantastic. I thought the Lakers did a really nice job. The game was tight, but I thought it was a really, really nice job that they were able to kind of stay true to their game and stay true to what their identity is, which is a big physical team that's going to keep trying to attack the rim and kind of beat you up at the rim. I think that's what the Lakers are, and they do have the flexibility to go in different directions. And I thought they did a really nice job. I mean, we look around and you look at all the other guys that played. Steph had a horrendous game today. I think he had a super horrendous game in the second half. So that was always going to put a ceiling on their ability to win. I mean, Gary Payton going 5 for 6, going for 2 for 3 from three. Like as a coach's den, guys like to say, it's magnet ball. Like you would let him shoot wide open shots all day. But I thought the Lakers did a really fantastic job staying disciplined on their assignments, chasing around Buddy Hield, chasing around Steph, making them take tough shots. And look, sometimes they run around so much, they're going to get open looks. So there were some looks that they took that the Lakers lucked out that they missed. But I thought the Lakers did a fantastic job today. And it doesn't look like we're going to be able to get to the tape today, which is not a big deal. I can always compile it later and we can do it as a standalone episode. But I thought they did great. The Lakers beat the team that they're supposed to beat, and they're continuing to take care of business. And they didn't let the Boston game turn into a letdown the very next game. So let's keep our fingers crossed. The Lakers are on a road trip. These road trips can be very difficult. You also learn the character of your team when you go on road trips. So let's see what happens, and let's see if the Lakers continue to kind of bunker down and build some momentum in the standings and build some momentum just as a team and build some continuity because the break is approaching soon. And when the break comes, everybody will get a nice rest. And, of course, there'll be trade deadline stuff going around. But as always, folks, I appreciate you joining me for this game. Sorry it took a little bit longer than I expected. I was hoping that I pushed the post game out a little bit longer because I was hoping that we'd be able to pull some tape, but the NBA side is slow with the tape, and I didn't have time to record and rewind all of the game. But I'll find a way to do it when me and Raj do our Lakers detailed live streams conversations together. So, folks, I appreciate you. I appreciate all the support that we've been getting on Lakers Detailed on the YouTube. If you haven't subscribed, I highly recommend you do that. There is going to be some cool stuff coming. There's something called a Detailers Club that's going to be coming, which is a way for folks to support, and you get some special perks on that YouTube channel. Some Lakers only stuff. Lakers that Lakers. You guys will see what it is. I think you guys will like it a lot. For the folks that end up signing up for it. But I appreciate everybody. I appreciate all the support that we're getting on the subscriber side, when you guys share it, when you leave comments, when you leave likes. So please, if you're able to do that, I appreciate it. And, Lakers win again. This is great. These are great times to watch. We're 7 games over 500, which is a great thing. And I don't think anybody expected us to be there at this point. So Lakers continue to work and figure out their identity and find ways to beat teams, different teams on a nightly basis. So wherever you are, I appreciate you, and I hope you have a wonderful day. And if nothing else, I'll catch you in the next one. Take it easy.